Portugal. There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings a bell and a member show to the GMP Morning Show.
Olá Bom Dia ALEGRIA, Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. How are you today? Tudo bem? Or as Phil would put it this morning, I love getting these.
Good morning, good morning. It's time to stop my yawning. A brand new week is
dawning.
It's
time to fill my cup. Oh, thank you very much, Phil. Don't forget, you can get Phil's Fill My Cup messages. 2 weeks free trial with those at Fill My Cup. Oh, here it is. fillmycup.com. 2 free weeks of Phil's rousing messages first thing yes, it doesn't like a rousing message first thing in the morning. Nice one, Phil. A joy to get those every weekday. Just like the Good Morning Portugal show here every weekday between 8 and 9, starting with the Bon Dia Daily. Now, the story, the news item that I'd like to share with you this morning. A few things to squeeze in before we speak to Bob and Viv. Bob and Viv first this morning, primero. And James later, a slight change around in the schedule to suit Portuguese study. We should always give way to that, shouldn't we? So we'll talk to Bob and Viv in about 15 minutes, see how they're getting on, what they're up to at the moment. Lovely to see them last weekend at the Good Times Gumper Gathering. Ah, that wasn't me. Look, on my desk there, the marmalade and the marmite. The marmalade is nearly almost completely finished. That was delicious. Thank you very much to... Actually, it was Catherine who made the... no, that side. This... who drew the Iberian links, also, I think, made the... there he is. The Iberian links there. Also made the marmite. That lady there who I met for the first time on the screen, she's featured in many of the dancing videos, another one of which was published last night. And Bob, thank you for the marmite. I'm not sure if I said thank you to you for the lovely jar of marmite that you can see on the desk there. You're welcome anytime, bringing marmite like frankincense, gold, and marmite. A wise man turning up in San Martino de Porto, armed with that lovely... is it a condiment? Is it a spread? I don't know what it is, but it's delicious. And our whole family very grateful for that. Right. Yes, those news items that I wanted to squeeze in. You can fly. Did you know that you can fly from Bragança to Portimão, from the north to the Algarve? Let me share with you then this item from the Portugal News. How much does it cost? You may well be asking. That's perhaps the only drawback. If you imagine you're in a 380, you're not. You're in something a whole lot smaller. That might put some people off, seeing the size of that aircraft from 7 Air there. Is it because only 7 people can fit on it? Is it because it weighs 7 kilograms and might get blown about a bit up in the airspace above Portugal? Let's find out more. I would you? Let's see what's going on then. How much does it cost to fly from the Algarve to Bragança? This is the Portugal News as of 11 hours ago. The flight that connects Bragança to Portimão makes stops in Villarreal, Viseu, and Cascais. So if you don't like taking off and landing, you won't like that either. You won't like that part of this service. The air route connecting Bragança to Portimão with stops in Villarreal, Viseu, and Cascais. Did I say that? Yes. Oh, Visio, of course. Nice one for you, Hugh. Resumed on February the 19th. Informed the concessionaire company 7 Air, but how long does it take? What's a concessionaire company? How long does it take? How much does it cost? According to the timetables provided by the airline service concessionaire between February 19th and March 29th, there are fewer connections, as on Wednesdays and Thursdays, the plane only connects Bragança to Cascais. Well, that's okay, isn't it? It's still a lot of fun. After March the 31st and until October the 24th, planes will land in all cities and the frequency will also double. On Sundays, there are still no flights. You can't do it on a Sunday. How much does it cost? This looks like incredible value and an amazing experience. According to information available on the 7 Air website, where this is intrepid journalism, where reservations can be made, here prices vary between 51 euros and 84 euros in February and March. It's not too bad, is it? For April and May, it is still possible to make reservations at the lowest price of 51 euros. How long does it take? The connection between Bragança and Portimão takes just over 2.5 hours. For example, a flight leaving Bragança at 7:30 in the morning arrives in Portimão at 10:05 in the Algarve for breakfast or brunch at least. The new That's still lunchtime in Portugal, isn't it? 10 o'clock. The new contract signed for the next 4 years between the government and Seven Air is worth 13.5 million euros, 3 million more than the previous concession. How does that work? Who pays who, I wonder? Because sometimes government subsidize airlines, don't they? I know that flying to Madeira is subsidized, and the Azores, I think, is subsidized by the government. It's weird, isn't it? I mean, presumably the reason it's so cheap is because it is subsidized. That seems incredibly inexpensive, doesn't it? 51 euros to fly from the top of the country to the bottom, rivaling the train fare, I would have thought there. What do you think of that? Good morning to you, João Ernesto Donot. To you, Michael Heron. Good morning, Espinho, with a Bom Dia ALEGRIA, amigos. Good morning, everyone from Gemini Bradshaw. Bom Dia Portugal, of course, from João Ernesto and Coach Turner heading back to the airport. Saudades setting in for the Turners there. Bom Dia Gumpers from Mike as well. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Pretty good here. If I've got time, I'll fetch up a photograph or a video of either Gralha or San Martinho de Porto Beach. We've met up with some lovely people this weekend in the Bay. Bom Dia Gumpers. E Feliz Segunda, says Coach Turner. Home time beckons, sadly. Off to Lisbon Airport in a while, but not until we visited the wonderful Pasteleria Briosa for coffee and natas. Now, talking, also adding morning. Yes, certainly in October, but maybe earlier as well. Thanks for all the help there. Yes, Mike says, hopefully we'll see you back in Portugal soon. I got your message, Mike. I will respond to that. I think I need to give you a call. Right, let's have a look at another little bit of Portuguese. Well, it's not news. It's a language and culture thing. And given that you're on the call, as it were, and many more live streams and meetings today. It's a busy one for me today. Bom dia todos, Carl. Yes, you said thank you for the Marmite and your face lit up. Great party. That's why today's called Moving and a Grooving. I want to retrace your dance floor steps this morning, Bob and Viv. Right, this is a cultural story, possibly with the help of Michael Heron here. And you know all these lovely memes I like to share with you, and we've got we'll have a thread specifically for them now at the Portugal Club. And thank you, Antonio F, for your inclusions. The Chega MP, who's accused of nicking stuff off the carousel at one of the airports, he's got some ready he's feeling the heat with some pretty cool memes. I think you can get a wraparound for your suitcases now, which says "not the property of this particular Chega MP." I don't think the Portuguese Parliament has held itself in particularly high esteem over the last few days. I think there was a vote of no confidence in the PM as well. Did you see that this week? Tense times in the Portuguese Parliament. And this may go before them as well. I have never seen this. I'm quite familiar with the Portuguese coffee scene. And if you have a look at what's on your screen now, I know some of you just tune in and listen like it's a radio show. And quite right too. I've got no problem with that. But I want to draw your attention to this scandal here of how on earth is it that we've got the Australian flat white, mate, and definitely the flat white is the Australian coffee, isn't it? The Irish have got the Café Gaelic, as you might imagine as well, and the Swedish have got a Kifust. And I won't attempt many more, apart from the Spanish one, maybe. Would you like a Café Bonbon with me, Antonio Banderas, as I'm inviting you for coffee? However, in Portugal, the Mazagran. Who here has heard of the Mazagran coffee? Not me. And I'm trying to blow it up a bit so I can actually read the print. Oh dear, that's gone the wrong way. That's even tinier. It is a cold brew recipe which essentially intertwines coffee and lemonade. It sounds disgusting, and I've never seen it. This is supposed to be from Little DIY, and they send out a meme every day by the sound of it called the littleshine.com. The Portuguese coffee Mazagran. I've never seen it in all my time here. Has anyone else seen that, or is it just a bad bit? Did they put the intern in charge of research, and it was Friday afternoon, and the first thing they could find to represent coffee from around the world from Portugal was a Mazagran? That'll do. Nice picture. That sounds good. Coffee and lemonade. It does if you're a kid, I think. But I mean, that's an outrage. That should be in the Portuguese Parliament as a representation of Portuguese coffee. All of these illustrations should be withdrawn from around the world for this gross misrepresentation. Have you ever had a Cafe Mazagran here in Portugal. No, me neither. Bob and Viv joining us in a little while at around 20 past, and James being saved until 8:40 this morning. We'll get further information, blow by blow account of his move from Ericeira to Espinho. Another thing I wanted to draw to your attention this morning, our Bon Dia Daily deal, is if you want to go ahead and buy the book from Isabel Stilwell, the interview I did with her from last Thursday evening is now up on the Expats Portugal YouTube channel, and very good it is too, even if I may say so myself. Really, really enjoyed talking to her. And if you want to buy it from the publisher, and I'll give you the link for doing so, she's a fascinating lady. I was looking at her Wikipedia entry, so to speak, and she's a very accomplished journalist in the Portuguese newspaper and magazine industry, and has been for years by the look of it, as well as writing these fabulous historical novels. And if you want to go ahead and buy the book that was being spoken about, that's Philippa of Lancaster, who came to marry the Portuguese king, who's my street is named after, Dom João I, and had the illustrious generation of kids, including Henry the Navigator and Edward the Philosopher. If you'd like to buy that book and get 10% off it, if you haven't bought a book before, that is from Livros Horizonte, do so on the link that's now on your screen. And there's a lot of other interesting books there as well, actually. If you want to try out your Portuguese and buy a book and read it in Portuguese, you can. And I think you can get some English translations there as well. Oh, also excellent to meet Nick over the weekend. He's the guy who gave us the video of the Chinese shop on Friday, and he's a great guitarist. So we'll be featuring some of his little musical sketches that he's making as he makes his way around Portugal too. Another thing that caught my eye, this was from I think an introverts Facebook group, which sounds like a contradiction in terms, does it not? If I take that comment off the screen there. Oh, I think we need to look at the weather for the week ahead. I think the sunny days versus non-sunny days is neck and neck, or it was up until Friday, and I need to adjust that because it was a glorious day. It was a properly good sunshiny day yesterday here in the Bay. Brought a lot of people to San Martino de Porto. This is a new thing, and I wanted Sarah. It's as if you knew I was talking about you this morning, because Bob and Viv, I think, want to talk about Podence and the incredible caretos that you will see there at the Podence Carnival. And I've got your pictures from when you went there. Good morning to you. Lovely to see you. What about this then? And I think probably quite a few of us who communicate with each other. Oh, morning to you, Mel, as well. Didn't see you come in to the back of the room there. People who don't reply until days later. Why? Now, I think the Gen Y, Gen Zers, they're like this, aren't they? If you've got kids of that age and you send them a message, they don't think they need to reply, do they? It's just like a memo, a corporate memo. And sometimes they don't reply at all. And sometimes they'll reply at a random time, many days later. It's a relatively very new phenomenon, it says here, by Spizmac on this particular Reddit thread here that was in I think it was an introverts group on Facebook. It's a relatively very new phenomenon that basically anyone in your life gets access to you at all times. It was only 20 years ago that if you left the house for the day, does anyone remember this? That if you left the house for the day, you were actually gone. You'd return messages when you came back hours or even days later. But even then we didn't, did we? We'd sit down, maybe with a cup of tea or coffee, and we'd press the answer phone button and we hear, please leave a message. This is just as Jim Rockford, please leave a message after the tone. Burp, remember him? Oh no, that's Dallas. Jim Rockford. We all had them, didn't we? Some of them had 2 cassettes in. They were incredible bits of technology, it seemed like at the time. And then you'd wait and see who it was. Old people who couldn't leave messages, spam callers, people you didn't want to hear from, not hearing from people you did want to hear from. It was the same. It was just different technology. But the point being made here, I think, is that it's like communication is optional now, isn't it? It's like I wonder anyone communicates anything anymore with these random messages that are going out. And this big question here, people who don't reply until days later, why? And I have to say, guilty as charged. What about you? Tell me what you think about that. Right, talking of videos, we will have a look at some of Nick's videos and his lovely guitar playing, sat by rivers and stuff like that. This was something I wanted to share with you from last week, and we'll take a quick look at the weather if you've got time afterwards. But I've been saving this and wanting to share this for you. Oh, it's only a minute long. What is it to be Portuguese? I'm loving seeing these, and these I think are from one of the TED Talks. It's either Mavilha or the one in Lisbon, another part of Lisbon. There's 2 TEDx talks going on, I think, around now or coming up in the next couple of weeks or so. And this is a bit of a promo for one of them.
What does it mean to be Portuguese?
Open to the world. It's such a small country. We have to be open to the world. We have a past about that. You are here in a part of Lisbon in which the discovery heritage is very present. Many of the streets around here are names of Portuguese sailors and discoverers. Many times we have such a fatalist mindset. Probably that's what make us more resilient. I think we are very different in that way also, in that aspect from Spanish. I think they are more light-minded. We are a little more dense, a little more dark, which is not necessarily bad, but sometimes brings us sadness. But probably that's what also makes us more resilient.
A little bit more dense and dark than the Spanish. He managed to make that sound like a compliment, didn't he? I mean, if I were to call you dense and dark, you probably wouldn't take too kindly to that. But in a brilliantly Portuguese way, he owned it culturally. It's like, well, yeah, that's what makes us as great as we are. We're dense and dark, certainly more than the Spanish. Amazing. Right, before we talk to Bob and Viv, let's have a very quick look at the weather, see what's happening in terms of the sunshine and the 300 days research experiment, which I suspect I shall talk about more with James when he joins me on the screen. Right, where's that weather button? And let me bring it onto the screen for you so you can see it as well. Oh dear, that's not the right button. Easy now, careful with what buttons you. Button, Carl, what's going on here? Have we frozen up? No, we haven't. I think we're okay. There it is. A bit slow to load this morning. That's the problem. Right. Oh, okay. Still loads of cloud forecast. A somewhat sunny day in the capital on Wednesday. Elsewhere, Porto, cloudy this week. Currently 12 degrees, going to rise to 14 in Porto. A somewhat sunny day with a few clouds. 9 degrees in the capital at the moment, rising to 17. Coimbra, 18 the high today, rising from a current overcast and cloudy 9 degrees. Faro, well done. Sunny. How is it that Faro has sun currently, but then it basically has just a cloud imposed upon it for the rest of the day? Maybe, okay, broken clouds, currently sunny, then that solves that mystery. 16 degrees the high today, currently 12. Braga, 11 at the moment with overcast clouds, and it will rise to an almighty 13 degrees with a little bit of rain forecast in Braga as well. And looking at the rest of the country, Bragança, you have to wait until the end of the week, till next Sunday, in fact, for a bit of sun. So hopefully it'll, on the ground, in real life, it'll feel spring-like with clouds coming and going, the occasional shower perhaps, but giving way to some glorious sunshine. In the Azores at the moment, 15 degrees with scattered clouds and 16 the high today. Madeira, 15 the high, currently 4. It's amazing, isn't it, the differential in temperature in Madeira, how it can go from a current 4 degrees with a few clouds to an almighty 15 later on today. Okay, without further ado, let's bring them onto the screen. Let's find out where they are in the world, because they were in Scotland last time. Nice big round of applause for Bob and the Viv. Good morning.
Good morning.
I think you're back in Ponte De Lima, unless you've taken your elephant illustration with you around the world.
Yeah, no. We are at home in Ponte De Lima, absolutely.
Excellent. Very good to see you both. Very good to see. I feel spoiled because I've seen you it feels like 2 weekends running now, here on the screen and last weekend. Thank you for coming to the Silver Coast and to San Martino de Porto. And I think fair to say we all had a pretty good time.
Oh, we had a great day.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta learn how to move like Coach Turner does on the dance floor, though. He just glides, you know.
No,
that was impressive.
Yes, it was impressive, wasn't it? However, Oh, do I recall correctly, Bob, that you did sing? In fact, you led the room with a rendition of Sweet Caroline.
Yeah, that's kind of
It
fun.
was great. The whole room was singing it, wasn't it? I mean, in many ways, you could have been a bit miffed by that because everyone else stole your possible moment of glory. But the whole room was singing,
everybody always does that with Sweet Caroline.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's part of it. So the most fun was singing "Looking for Love" to Viv.
In all the wrong places.
Yeah, story
it
of
was
my
a
life.
complex evening, wasn't it? There were so many moments. Yeah, that's another one that was tucked away in the recesses of my mind. That's nice. That was Valentine's weekend, so that was perfect.
Exactly.
And
So,
you look like $1 million, Bob, I have to say. So did you, Viv, but Bob did steal the show, didn't he?
Oh, he did. He always does when he puts his hat on.
urban cowboy comes out for
you know
special occasions.
I didn't check to see if that hat was hung on the door of the hotel room later on, but I suspect it might have been.
It might have been.
Right.
It was a good weekend. It was a good weekend.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because it wasn't just a Saturday night. People were hanging out as well and having a great time, weren't they? Right through to the Sunday as well.
Oh, yeah. And one of the joys for us by coming down to the gatherings every now and then is meeting people that you see a little name on the screen, and that's all you know them by, and getting to actually put faces with the names, and had a great conversation with Carl about his yurt building activities, and fascinating and cool stuff. So lots of talent in this broader group.
There really is,
lots of talent and abilities. Yeah.
On the Carl sang with them once.
Yeah, so true, so true. That's the other Carl, by the way. And not only is he a Carl, he's a Carl M with a teenage son, just like me. But he's Carl McAdam, my good mate Carl McAdam.
Okay.
Great lad. Yeah, and a yurt builder, as it turns out, in central Portugal. Great bloke.
Yeah.
Okay, and many other people, right? Who you only knew up until that point as names on the screen, or not at all, for that matter. And there they were in the room.
Exactly.
So wonderful.
People we haven't seen since last year that only come once a year. So it was great.
Yeah.
We need to do it again. We need to do it again, at least every year. And I think we'll have a little gathering every month here now because it's such good fun. Right. And you want to keep talking about partying, I think, this morning. There was something that you sent me. This was the Caretos, right? These fantastically Portuguese characters up in the north.
Yes, it's in the village of Podence, and it's a World Heritage Site. And they call it, it's not the village that they're protecting, it's intangible culture. And it's the actual way they celebrate Carnival. It's been going on for 2,000 years. And it's one more thing that is more famous in other parts of the world. Like there's Mardi Gras in the US and there's Carnival in Brazil. It started in Portugal. They're the ones who took it out to the world.
Yeah.
So
yes, fantastic.
I didn't know that till now. And this one is particularly fun because it's very pagan and the devil is loose for that weekend. That's what these guys are. And it was a way for they're covered completely. You can't tell who they are. And it was a way for the villagers to cut loose once a year and get into all kinds of mischief, but nobody knew who was doing what.
Oh my word.
So, I mean, it just looks like so much fun.
It does, doesn't it? I think these are Sarah's pictures from actually in Podence going up there.
Yes.
They are great photos, aren't they? And then another reference when Philomena was doing her carnival last year, some of the Podensians or Caretos came and were part of that as well in that.
Yes. And they're all over the country. So whatever flavor you want, they've got somewhere for what you want to see.
Yeah.
They're quite extraordinary and very distinctive, aren't they? And I think this is what you were talking about, that detail from the big wall picture here is how that people were able to share and show their affections, right?
Yes, yes, they could. Yes. They even have a mock wedding where these guys in the suits get to go around and just snatch the woman that they want, and they have to marry them. They can't have any objection to it. They have to have this mock wedding, and then at the end they burn the devil. There's a huge red devil, and they pile rushes around him and set him on fire and have a big bonfire.
Excellent.
So
There's just not enough of that sort of stuff in the world, is there? We could do with some
there
devil
isn't.
burning. Yes, get rid of
Yes,
those evil spirits and the badness in the world. Absolutely.
yes.
Amazing. So did you actually go and see this happening? Have you been on a trip to the town?
We
No,
thought about it. That's
we
what brought
were
this
we
all
were
up.
going to go because
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go, but we're never home in March, so or
Ah, okay.
February. So Easter is late this year, so the whole thing is a little
Way
bit late.
later,
It's
yeah.
starting in March instead of February.
Yes.
But it is also the 900th birthday of Ponte De Lima on March 4th. So
Okay.
we can't go to both. So
Yeah.
we're going to have to put Pedence off until next year.
We decided
Oh.
they would plan a Pedence event again next year, but
Oh,
they
yeah.
wouldn't plan another 900th year celebration here in Ponte De Lima. So
Yeah. And it
and-
starts the night before with a big concert on the river in the Sandlot that will
That's
hold thousands of
incredible.
people. And then
Wait,
we have big fireworks. So
What's the date of that, Bob and Viv?
March
the
4th.
4th.
Oh, so really
Tuesday
not
the
long
4th.
now. So is there
No.
a sort of palpable sense of anticipation in the town now?
There
Ponte De Lima?
is. Yeah, people are looking forward
Yeah.
to it.
And
Yeah.
they've minted a special commemorative that's easy for me to say, commemorative coin.
You said it.
Now the challenge is to find one before
Yeah.
they're all gone.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we're checking into that too. But yeah, we're looking forward to that. I mean, that's something that only comes around every 900 years. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say we're not going to be here for the next one, are we? So let's get to this.
No, we won't be here for
Let's
the 1000th. Yeah.
let's get
So-
to I meant the next 900, but yeah, it's also possible that not too many of us will be here for the 1000th Ponte De Lima
No.
celebration.
Don't think so.
yeah.
That sounds amazing. Do you think that would be a good time to come for anybody from the community who wants to take a look at Ponte De Lima, or will it be? Is it all fully booked and too busy now?
Well,
Probably the rooms would be hard to find now. But it'll be a really good party if they want to come. Starts on March 3rd and then goes through, like in New Orleans, we have Fat Tuesday. Here they have Gordo Domingo. So it's Fat Sunday.
Fat
And
Sunday.
and then they have the Carnival Day on the 4th. And then the next day is Ash Wednesday when Lent starts. So, but the thing I like about Pedence is like it's a pagan ceremony, pagan celebration.
Yeah.
So there was no Lent or
no
Catholic
doubt.
Church or anything there at the time. And so they do their own thing, but they stick to the dates.
Yeah.
So
Well, what I know about it is it comes from intrudo, translated into
Intrudo.
English as shrovetide. Intrudo from the
Right.
Latin intuitum, historically called introido and ontroido, 13th
Yes.
century, and in the 14th century became entruido and eintrudo in the 15th century. Similar to Carnival, was an
Yes.
ancient Galician Portuguese celebration held in the 3 days preceding the beginning of Lent. So from what
Right.
you're saying, Viv, it goes back even further than that, doesn't it?
Even further, it goes back 2,000 years. So,
Amazing. Oh, and typically, I suppose the smart clerics thought, let's not get rid of this. Let's just
absolutely.
badge it. We'll white label it and we'll make it our own and keep all the
Yes.
bits that the people like, but stamp
Yes.
it with our own branding.
Right.
So that's what happened, in which revelers threw buckets of water, scented lemons, eggs, tangerines, pastries, gloves
Yes.
filled with sand, hit themselves with brooms and wooden spoons, and got dirty with flour, plaster, etc. I think you've made reference to that. I can't remember the phrase you used, but got off the chain or let their hair down or
rails.
something like that.
Yeah, they definitely go off the rails. Yeah.
Off the rails. In the Kingdom of Portugal, it existed until 1817, while in the Empire of Brazil, it was repressed since 1854, and
Right.
it gave way to the modern Carnival. And we're seeing that all over Portugal as well at the moment, aren't we? Carnival is here. Torres Vedras has a very famous Carnival.
They do.
Yeah, where
There are many famous ones throughout the country. Aveiro is a very good one. Just all kinds. And then in the Algarve, they have the more Brazilian type one with the
Yes.
samba girls doing the samba and scanty clad girls,
Disgusting. Right. Okay.
or delightful depending on your outlook.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the Catholic Church badging for that one yet. I wonder.
No,
No, but I wonder.
Anyway,
Pam's
so-
in, and James is it. James, we'll talk to James in just a little while. Pam's in with
Yeah.
Bondi, hoping to finally get our bathroom finished today. It was started on the second week of January. That's quite fast, I think, isn't it? By some,
that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a friend up here whose kitchen was begun months ago and promised months ago, still not finished. He's done a lot of the work himself.
Yeah.
And another couple that their house was promised in October, and they're hoping to maybe move in next Friday. So yeah.
Right.
They've
Good luck.
been
So
an
2 weeks
Airbnb.
sounds really good. Yeah. 2
Yeah,
weeks
yeah.
sounds
People
great.
will want the number of your builder there, Pam, with that express service that you've got going on.
Absolutely.
When you do it
Yeah.
yourself, does the contractor come back in the end and pay you? Is that how it works?
What was that? I missed it.
If you end up doing it yourself, does the contractor come back with the money and pay you?
Good luck.
Unfortunately, no. So
Yeah.
they don't do
Good
that.
luck. So
Weather report from Setúbal. Sarah, I'm looking out of the window in Setúbal and the sun is right there. No idea where the weather folks are getting their information. I often think that. Maybe I need to change my weatherman. Boa tarde, alegria. Pete, clearly elsewhere in the world. It's afternoon for Pete. He's probably several gin and tonics in or some other life-affirming substance. And João Ernesto de Norte, we saw several tributes to those naughty guys, the caretos, on posters on our way through Villarreal and Bragança to Salamanca there.
Yeah.
Methuselah would have made it to see the celebration with time to spare. He was 969 years old. What do you buy somebody who's that old? They've seen it all, haven't they? And just to give a quick shout out to those in the area, Orca are holding their carnival. Yeah, keep all these. Your local carnival details will be gratefully received here. 3:30 in the afternoon. But the DJ is not on until 1 in the morning. How about that? I think maybe you need to have a little lie down during that one. Bon dia Gumpers, late arrival this morning. I am sorry. No need to be sorry. Kent, is this back to the coffee reference and the torradinho, or is that your torrada? You're having small pieces of toast. I wonder what you mean there, Mr. S. Have you ever seen that coffee that I was showing before?
No.
Mazapan. That's nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It's what we used to, as a kid, call suicides. Bob and I both remember this, where you pour whatever you had in a cup, and then you had to drink it. Like if it was all the sodas together, and then some coffee and some tea or whatever you had, but then you had to drink it. So it sounds like
that's what it sounds like.
Somebody's been playing in the coffee kitchen.
I was at the Carnival in Rio. The Escolas de Samba are pretty. I'm sure they are. That is the home.
Oh yeah,
we got to see some samba on Saturday with a live band, and the feet, the hips, the shoulders, the entire.
Yeah, and only women do the samba. Yeah, they're the only ones who dance the samba.
Yes, irresistible, isn't it? Absolutely.
They're beautiful.
Yeah,
just beautiful.
Now, I want to bring you back to this 900th anniversary of Ponte De Lima. Because I was thinking, I don't want to put people off going. There must be hacks, mustn't there? Could you possibly stay in Viana do Castelo? Could you stay in Barcelos?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, there'd be places.
Yeah. All up in Camina. I mean, there's places all around where you get.
We haven't looked to see how full things are here. If somebody gets in a pinch, they could contact us. But because we plan to be around. But we just decided it's worth staying in town. This is our first
spring,
February, March, our first spring actually being in Ponte De Lima, and we are looking forward to it. Actually getting the kiwi pruned back in time to beat the sap this year. So That's what
Oh,
I've
that's
been
going to be
working on.
wonderful for you. And it's funny that, isn't it? How often when it's like when I lived in London as a kid, I never went to the West End or did particularly London things. You tend to overlook the things right on your doorstep, don't you? But you're going to be fully immersed in that this year.
We will be. We
And the
will be.
celebration goes on all year. So there's going to be different things all year long for Ponte De Lima.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So a good year to come to
Yes,
Oh,
there's going
yeah.
to be concerts. There's going to be just all sorts of things all through the year. So
Now, with the hack that we're thinking of staying in a town nearby, is Ponte
Uh-huh.
Lima on the railway line, or would it need to be an Uber?
No.
or
It is
a
not.
bus?
there's a bus. There's a bus
Right.
that comes here, but
Yeah.
no, it's not. There's no railway here.
Not
Oh,
yet.
okay. So you'd
No.
have to figure out some other transport arrangement or drive in for those
We're
particular.
driving. Yeah.
Drive or there is a bus from the airport. And
Direct bus,
probably
yeah.
other places too, but there's a direct one from the airport.
Yeah. And there's train clear up to Barcelos and Braga. There are trains that close.
And then you could get a bus.
And of course Viana de Castelo. So yeah, there are trains that come close, but just not quite Ponte
Close
Lima.
Okay.
So,
All right.
which
So you
is
have to-
one of the things that keeps us as we are, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, that's true, isn't it? There are pluses and minuses for everything, aren't there? And that might have
Yeah.
kept
Yeah.
might have kept Ponte Lima pretty much the same for the last 900 years.
I think so.
No, and finally, check in with you on the language, because the reason we swap the times around, I think, is because you need to get to your Portuguese class. How is all of that going?
Well, better for Bob than me.
Tell us about it. Tell us about
It's
it.
hard. We're leaving after this to go to a 4-hour language lesson.
That is hard. What is that? Is that a punishment? What did you do wrong?
No,
Right.
no, it's just the schedule.
Schedule change. We had to change
Teacher.
professors because the one got second job offer in a public school system, which she'd been wanting for a long time.
Yeah.
And it turns out that if you don't when you're offered a job in the public schools, you don't take it.
If
After
you
the
don't take the
second
second
one,
one, you don't get offered
you-
again.
yeah.
So,
you're out of the running.
and they gave her
That's
2 days
terrible.
to make up her mind.
Yeah, she
So
had
she was just
2 days.
gone.
Yeah.
So she couldn't give notice. They didn't have time to look for anyone.
So now we have another professor,
Yeah.
and the schedule's kind of all changed around. That's why
Yeah.
the Monday thing here.
Yeah.
So we're on catch up with this 4-hour class. It's normally
Yeah.
3.
How do you prepare yourself and subject yourself to 4 hours of study? I mean, that goes against everything we know about learning, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's
There'll be a break.
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
Better
get
be
a
an hour.
10-minute
It better
break.
be a lunch break. Now that would be a brilliant Portuguese turnaround at the end. It's a 4-hour class, but the last 2 hours are lunch.
Yeah. No, that's
I
yeah.
could handle that.
We could
but-
she could do a live presentation talking with us in the cafe. We might suggest that. That
Yes.
sounds pretty good. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So
Tell them
but
your
it's,
other Portuguese professor suggested that. And I've heard of this as well. It seems that many of the Portuguese language teachers are teachers of children in the public school system, or
Mhm.
want to be.
Uh-huh.
And I don't. They sound like they're not treated especially well, including this. We've got a job for you at the other end of the country. Take it or leave
Right.
it, and if you don't, you won't
Right.
get any more. And they just have to disappear and go and do these things, don't
They
they?
do.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
Fortunately for her, the job was actually closer than teaching here in Ponte de Lima.
right.
It's
She
in
lived in
Braga.
Braga.
Yeah.
So.
So for her, it worked out that it's a local job.
Wow. So she was
It's
coming
like-
from Braga to teach you in Ponte de Lima.
Yeah.
Yes.
Must be a better way.
Every day but Sunday. Yeah, she was a bit, and working on her master's.
In Braga.
It,
And she had a 10-year-old daughter. So she was
Incredible.
busy.
Good
overwhelmed.
for her. Good for her.
People like that challenge me to just that there are ways to get things done. It's just I look sometimes at like my kiwi vines. Oh my goodness. But you just apply yourself.
Just go do it.
You just go do it. Yeah. Just do it.
That's the attitude. So you better just go do it, folks. Thank you so much for being here this morning. And for the foreseeable future, then we'll swap round like this, right? Until you're fluent.
Well, no.
Well,
this is just a one-off.
Oh, it's a one-off. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
On this
Yeah.
Monday, we'll wait to
So-
see when we repeat the class 1A1 again, because we're absorbing so speedily that we're going to go through it twice.
Of course you
There
are.
is no way I'm ready for an A2 course.
Right.
We're
Well, who
gonna hit
knows?
a one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both for being
All
here this
good.
morning. Thanks for being here earlier and good luck with your
Yeah.
Portuguese class. And I think the next time we meet, you may well have some pictures or video of the celebrations.
You betcha.
Yes, I'm sure we will.
betcha. And we'll
Yes.
send you some along the way. You bet.
Wonderful. All right. Cheers, Bob and Viv. Thank you very much. Have a lovely
Ciao.
day. Have a lovely week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, you
Ciao,
too.
ciao. Bye for now. Which means playing the theme tune, doesn't it, of Young James here, also known as the old guy in Europe. How long since you've been called Young James, James? Let's find out after this. Swing!
Bom dia!
Bom dia, tudo bem? Como estão, amigo?
Muito bem, obrigado. E tu?
Muito bem, obrigado. Muito bem.
Sim. Pois.
Pois, isto é complicado.
Yes. Well, I have a response to calling me young James. It's because I'm 112 years old.
You're looking good, man. You're looking. You'll have to start as well as your YouTube channel, an Instagram channel on how to look great at 112. Did you say?
Yes. 112. Yes.
Obviously, an easy paper round for you then, as a youngster. So what's new in this move? I've got something I want to talk to you about. Beef, grief, and relief is something we're starting tonight. Did you like that title?
I love your alliterations.
Classic, right? Classic.
Not so big on beef and grief and relief as a topic, but especially the beef and grief part together. Like, I don't have a problem with grief at all. I don't have a problem with having complaints. It's just the focus.
Yes.
Let's put it all together in one bin.
Yeah, that's right. Let's get it out of the way. Let's do it out. Let's do it
Kick
out.
it aside and go have some fun.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's see if we can do that tonight, because we will be doing that at 8:30 tonight. Not online, in a private group, but more about that later, because we need a little bit of a catch up with you on your journey from Ericeira to Espinho. How's it going? I was seeing on social media that this might be happening quite soon, James.
Yes. Before we get into that, the first question you asked me was what's new, and there is something new, particularly new, that I want to be able to share, because it's something I've been working on for 2 years and it's finished. I got my driver's license in the mail.
My God.
The official license is good until, a year and a half on my birthday. So finally.
What? You've got to go through it again in a year and a half?
Yeah, every 2 years. You get old enough, you just do it every 2 years.
You'll have to hire a driver, I think. Okay.
That was it started last June. 2 years from there, I'll do it again.
I bet you can't believe it, but you need one of these, okay? Acknowledging that moment, that is very special, isn't it?
Yeah, we kind of talked about it a little bit last time with the, seeing all the clouds with the little piece of sun, and it's a thing relative to everything else. And here, if I hadn't been waiting 2 years to get this done, it'd be like, okay, so one more thing off the checklist. But now it's like, yeah! And I don't even own a car, and I rarely ever even want to drive. But it's when I do want to drive that it becomes an issue. It's when I want to rent a car and go travel. It's when I want to go up to Gerês and I don't have easy public access to it. Those kinds of things, to be able to drive legally, is important. So,
and that could be useful in the next few weeks if you do want to grab a hire car and move yourself around the country.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Well, the actual move. Nice segue. Has been accommodated by my lovely Portuguese family by virtue of the fact that the son, Guilherme, is moving to Esmeriz, which is like the next town over from Espinho. And he wanted to take some stuff up there, and I want to take some stuff and myself up there.
Cool.
So we're all just going to get in the car together with our stuff and go up there. That's one real advantage to having come here so light on stuff.
Yes.
You know, the oft-told story of my one check-on bag, my one carry-on bag, and my backpack. You know, I've got maybe 4 boxes more than that now than I had 3 years ago, but it's easily transportable in one sort of regular vehicle. I don't need a moving van.
Can I pry and ask you what you've picked up in that time? Because you know this in the whole sort of not craze, that would be undermining and rude to the whole concept of minimalism, which I really appreciate. But in the awareness, the current awareness of minimalism, it's quite something that you did that, and then the ongoing challenge becomes keeping your possessions to a minimum as well. You've got 4 boxes of what exactly?
Well, first of all, I'm not a big consumer of stuff anyway. I tend to buy what I need, and that's, you know, it's like, that's it. I don't buy all the knickknacks and all these other extra little things.
Fridge magnets.
Know, and by virtue of the fact that I am renting and I'm renting furnished, I don't need big pieces of stuff, furniture, beds, linens, all that kind of stuff that comes with owning a house and living in that house. So that is a huge advantage. So what I'm trying to think, the most cumbersome thing I bought in terms of moving is my electric bicycle.
Oh yes, of course, the electric
but
bicycle.
it is quote unquote portable. You can fold it in half, so rather than a big long thin thing, it becomes one big sort of block of metal.
Yeah, a folded robot.
Yes, but it still weighs 35 kilos, so it's a heavy bugger. So that's the biggest thing I've purchased. I also bought an induction hub, a 2-burner hub, because I wanted to have the most energy efficient way of cooking stovetop. And that was it, which then required me to buy a pot and a pan that worked on an induction.
Things are escalating, James. Things are escalating here. Yes. It's getting out of hand, mate.
Yeah. Oh man, and I almost hate to admit this, but the really big item that I got was my Good Morning Portugal mug.
Yes, you're becoming burdened with materialism, my friend.
Yes. You know, so then there's just sort of electrical accessories. I had all my stuff was US plug-in stuff, so I needed the little adapter so I could continue using that on Portugal electric system. Yeah, I think I got 2 more pairs of shoes along the way, and I was gifted a couple of T-shirts along the way. So it's just really just a couple things here, a couple things there, but nothing.
Hunter-gatherer. You could see it in another way as a sort of hunter-gathering instincts. Things are sticking to you like that. But there you go. Just a few boxes, and off you go to Espinho. How are you feeling about it all? This is quite the big milestone, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm actually more and more excited. Because it's new, although I have a familiarity with Espinho because I've been there 4 or 5 times over the last couple of years. I'm excited because there is, even though I have my own individual studio, like it's self-contained and it's my living place, I'm only separated by a doorway to the main house to my family. So you know, people knock on the door. Hey, James, you know, there's all this stuff that is happening much more frequently than I would anticipate if I was just living in an apartment somewhere.
Yes, yes.
You know, so there's that aspect to it that is different. And I don't know, it just somehow feels a little more independent. I can't really put a finger on that one because I guess it's just accessibility It's like usually you would have to call someone, or you'd have to arrange a visit, or you have to walk across the neighborhood to knock on the door to go visit them. You know, this is just like, hey, I was walking by the hallway, thought I'd stop by and say, hey, you know, that kind of thing. So it's just that dynamic is a little different, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you figured out where you're going to hang the hat in the new place?
Not yet. No, I got to get in there and see the layout. It's a small place. It's roughly the same size as my studio, but it has you can see the stairs here. Those go up to my bed, which is in a loft, and that's pretty much the only use I can make of that space, because it goes right up toward the ceiling. So I only have, you know, half a meter or less of space between my mattress and the ceiling. So it's not functional other than sleeping.
Yes.
So this apartment has roughly the same square footage that includes the square footage of that space. It's just, I actually have a bedroom where I can stand up and walk around. So.
Wow, man! Let's hope this doesn't go to your head, as it were. No pun intended.
Yes.
Okay, well, we will keep an eye on that, and maybe in a couple of weeks' time, you'll be talking to us from a new place and from a place that we are not familiar with.
Yeah, well, the move is actually happening a week from this coming Wednesday, so less than 9 or 10 days.
Perhaps the last Ericeira show next Monday, and then we'll see you in the Espinho studio the week after that. Wowzers!
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
and
that's
so
right.
You may need the new service. In fact, you're part of the new service of the Beef, Grief and Relief, which is, I mean, it's an existing service, isn't it? Because we've been doing this for a little while. And we used to do it every week, didn't we? We used to have a meetup on Tuesdays. It's now Monday at 8:30. I'm going to allow myself to talk about bad news and difficult things for expats and foreigners and immigrants for 8 o'clock on a live stream, and do a little summary of that, and maybe see what beef people have got and what they want to talk about, because we don't want to overwhelm the Good Morning Portugal vibe with that sort of thing. Like, I think there's a place for everything, and it's important to say that, because it's not like we don't want people to talk about their challenges or difficulties. We just don't want a show that's entirely dominated by that. And we have a place, we have a receptacle for that now, which will be a Monday night starting tonight, where people can come and air their difficulties and challenges, which I think is very important. And I was writing about this, James, and I wonder if you agree with me. When I've seen, as I have in recent times, it seems like maybe it's just I know more people, so it's like it's statistically correct, but some people are returning to the United States, and often by the time they've got there, the reasons they give are to do with health and family, as you might expect. And I wanted to write about it in such a way that to understand the nuance and to stop the exponential effect happening of it getting really difficult for people. So it just becomes explosive, and then they've just got to go. And what that occurred to me as, or what I realized about that, is it's very important to have a place to take your difficulties so they don't become insurmountable and explosive. And that's the beauty of talking. That's, you know, this as a counselor, psychotherapist, it's quite good to deal with things in baby steps, or a chunk a week, or in a particular place, rather than letting it build up and build up and build up. And then it looks entirely different. You have an entirely different perspective on it. So are you welcoming the Beef, Grief and Relief session from that point of view?
To be perfectly honest, no.
Oh, okay.
I absolutely agree with what you said. People do need a place to vent. People do need a space to talk. For me, an invitation to come and complain is something I would opt out of. It's like, no, thank you. Because then you're getting a group of people. I don't know. I don't know how you do that without, I mean, I thoroughly appreciate and respect your attention to wanting to create a space for that. I don't know what the answer to that is. But my concern, and we'll see how it develops, is that that will be the only reason people show up, is because they have things to complain about.
Yes, yeah.
You know, thank God then you're sort of stuck in that loop. And I'm much more about solutions. So as a therapist in my professional outfit, I sit back and I listen and I go, and I try to understand who this person is that has these complaints. And then in that process, help them to see what they might be able to do about it, if they choose to do anything about it. as a non-professional space, all I want to do is point out the solutions to the problem.
Yes.
It's like, you can do this. Well, I don't want to do that, or blah, 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 or whatever it is. I just want to complain, and that's my concern, and that's part of the buildup. It gets so built up that it feels like you could just do it forever.
Yes.
And I'm much more inclined to move, because it doesn't have to build up, and you don't need a therapist to have it not build up. It's a function of practicing changing your perspective.
Yes.
That can keep it from blowing up and getting to the point where it's explosive. That's where therapy could be helpful. Learning how to do that in the space of a relatively limited amount of time. I don't know. I think I would be much more open to something of challenges I'm facing and solutions that people who have experience with that can offer. And I think that's kind of along the line of what you were looking for.
It is. And maybe I've gone to maybe the catchy title is, it might be a little bit off-putting and skew it the wrong way. I take your point on that. I definitely take your point on that. But it is an effort, which I think you've recognized there, to meet some sort of request or demand from people. Because I've had a number of conversations recently about this very thing. Mama Bear she flies the flag for this, doesn't she? To have things said that might not otherwise be said, to speak of things that might be holding us back, to share and get help. It's those themes that I think are important. And I spoke to a couple in central Portugal who just said it's really important to have a space to talk about these things at a particular time in your journey as well. And there's a kind of it's not a sweet spot, because it's not very sweet, but it's like a moment, a peak pastel de nata, I suppose, is how I've referred to it in the past. It's when the hunky-doriness of like, yes, we made it. We've had this tumultuous build up and excitement and positivity about moving to Portugal. We're here now, and it's like, oh, okay, we're here now. All the momentum and the impetus and positivity to get us here. It's like, oh, where does that all go now? I'm actually here. I don't have the same initiative or drive or sense of excitement. And it's it can be a bit of a come down, I think. And it was I was talking to this particular couple about that, processing that, being aware of that, and what that can do to and for people. So it's it's an effort to address that. And a work in progress. We'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, and I think I've used the phrase regularly around making a move here, because that's my experience. But any significant change in one's life is about managing expectations, being realistic, and that can be difficult in the face of everyone saying, oh, it's great all the time, everyone's wonderful, and everything is, rosy. It's hard to come and say, now be reasonable. This is another human experience in another real place on planet Earth. So there's no place on Earth that is what I've been hearing.
Yes.
It doesn't exist anywhere on the planet. Yeah. And if it exists because I make it be that way in my perception of it, not because it is that way. It's how I choose to experience that experience that makes it all those rosy things. Yes. And yet we're expecting the external to have that effect on us. I want it to make me feel this way. And we've talked about things making people anything. They don't. But so I've never taken on myself as I need to sell Portugal to somebody. I'm not a salesman. I talk about my experience. I talk about it realistically, and it's 80% fantastic.
Yes.
And then because I understand how people have a way of listening to that, I say, now that's my experience. Everyone has a different experience. And you need to be realistic about it. Living someplace is not having a vacation there.
Yes.
It's not going to be a vacation experience, except for however long the vacation lasts. Eventually the vacation will stop and life will need to be dealt with like every day. You can't just like put life on hold while you're on vacation, then go back to it.
It's true. It's true, isn't it? And I think we can all get a sense of that. And because the temptation might be to find another place to go to feel like you're on holiday.
Yeah, and that is one potential solution. Is just, I even considered it. It's like, well, if I don't want to get a visa, I've got a 90-day limit per however the rules went. I said, well, I could float around. I could do quarterlies in different places that take me outside of the European Union, then back in, that kind of thing. And I wondered what that would be like, but it would be much more like being on vacation, because you'd be going to at least a different place every 3 months, and you'd only be there for 3 months. So you wouldn't really have to get real about living a life there.
And the funny thing with that, and I've observed this, is people who live that sort of lifestyle eventually feel the need to settle down. Like, I'm going to be, it's in songs, isn't it? Of one day I'll settle down. This life of being on the road and living out of a suitcase is it's just getting too much. Because in a funny sort of way, we're never happy, are we? In that sort of, that part of us that can never be happy and is always looking. That's the thing we're talking about managing, I suppose. And you put it very well, I thought, with the 80%, 80-20. The key to this session tonight is keeping the 20%, if you like, because there's an inevitability about some of the things that we're going to experience as human beings wherever we live. Let's call that 20% of life. But if that becomes 80% of your experience, the dominating difficulties, then your life can become quite difficult to be in.
And I think for me, being able to title it something that is more like how to face your challenges, or help in overcoming those challenges, or that it's the design of it, I think, is meant to be a community helping people who are struggling.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Rather than, hey, if you got a bunch of complaints, here's your time and space to air it.
That will take some managing tonight. Antonio, good morning to you. Bon dia todos. We're a little bit over time, James, but
Antonio!
It's like you can shout back at him there. Look,
that's right.
There's your opportunity to do that.
Oh, I've actually got it set up there. I'll just hit return.
Thanks for your input on this idea. I'm not here to complain, says Mr. S. I'm here to offer options such as Spain, since I'm on your behalf.
As funny as that can sound, it's a very realistic option.
It is,
Perhaps Spain has a different set of challenges that don't bother you as much. I mean, who knows?
And there's a fantastic clickbait title for Michael Heron as well, isn't there? Is Spain better than Portugal?
There you go.
Doesn't want us anymore, says Mr. S about Ima. No therapy needed. Thank you very much. Right. Maybe the beef, grief, and relief session. It's a great name. Come on.
I love the alliteration.
Might be a way for folks to figure out what their question actually is. That's a great point, Sarah. Yes, that's frequently the real issue. Putting your finger on it, right? Very good. Thank you, Sarah, for that.
Rather than what's your beef, what's your question?
And what's bugging you? Do you want to figure it out? Because we prefer to have people happy. So come along and see what's what.
And I'm not quite as scientifically rigorous as you are, but my sense is
who is? Come on.
My sense is that the vast majority of the people who go back, it's not about things being overwhelming in Portugal. It's about missing my family. It's about my parents getting sick. It's about those kinds of things. It's not about I'm unhappy with Portugal so much that I'm choosing to leave. I imagine that's a very small percentage of the relatively small percentage of people who actually go back.
Well said.
So I don't get the feeling that it's anywhere close to a majority of people who are coming here and then making the decision to go.
Yeah.
But that's as I said, that's not based on your type of scientific rigor.
No, okay, fair enough. I mean, not everyone can be as rigorous as me.
That's right.
Great perspective. Maybe just rename it something about beef meat solutions, and that could be a bit misconstrued with beef and meat. That's going to put
beef meat.
It's going to put the vegans off. And I'm talking to the Portuguese at 7. In fact, we're taking it all on tonight. The topic tonight with the Portuguese is what is it to be a man in Portugal? I mean, I'm going to be therapied out by about 9:30 this evening. So that's going to be an interesting
I
evening.
just heard my lurch groan.
I know, I heard it too. And focus on discussing how to deal with it and share solutions. Thanks, Mel. Well, if you or anybody wants to join us tonight, it's a work in progress. We'll have some simple ground rules to make sure everybody's okay, confidentiality and safety, and we'll create a space in which this can occur, and we'll see how it goes. I think majority leave for beefs, but go to other countries, not have. They work their way through the list, don't they, on those expat websites? I think I'll go to Mexico or Paraguay.
That sounds good.
Yes, I'll escape myself there for a little bit until
it's easy to get a driver's license there. Oh, but what about this and that and this and that? Oh, yes. Well, that's not so great.
Now I've got a driving license, I don't feel safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people we know that leave are due to relationship breakdown and finances. Well, okay. And those are the sort of things that need talking about. That's a really good example, Pete, isn't it, of something that can become explosive if not managed and dealt with in the early part of the difficulties, I would say. That's from my own experience of relationship breakdown and finances. Biggest challenge I worry about in moving to Portugal is making new friends. So I'm planning on doing a couple of crafting courses to Portugal. Have anything like the Women's Institute or the WRVS type thing? Not exactly, but I don't think you will struggle necessarily, Jackie, in terms of sociability. I find it a very social country, but you have to make the effort, of course. And there are things you don't know.
Find something you like to do and find a group that does that. You'll make lots of friends.
And there's always Portuguese wine. Thank you.
Oh, that's not WHINE.
No, there's another name for it. Wine and wine.
Wine and wine.
Wine and wine tonight. Thanks, Mike. Can I have that one? All right. Fantastic. Thank you for all of you for your input and your honesty, James, on that. And I trust you will see you tonight, despite the fact that you're not that keen.
Yes. I'll give it a time or two. If it turns into just an hour of just complaining with no space for solutions. Like, okay, I don't need to do that every week or once a month, I guess, even.
Okay,
but,
there you go.
I'll be there.
Right. And Mel, thank you
supporting.
And thank you so much for that. 9 minutes past 9, everyone. We kept you far too long. Thanks, James. All the
My
best.
Pleasure always.
Developments, and see you this evening for a good old moan fest, perhaps interspersed with the occasional solution. We shall see what's what with that.
Bring my lurch groan.
Have a great week, everybody. We will see you. Oh, I need to set the outro video. Let's bring James onto the screen one more time, and Bob and Viv, and this whole thing about flying from Bragança to the Algarve. I like that idea. Have a great week. Take care, and we'll see you this evening if that's for you, either with the Portuguese at 7, or my live stream at 8, or the Beef Grief and Relief at 8:30, and the moment with Mrs. M at midday. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show